Howdy everyone, how are you? Purplebookfairy, aka Elin in Norway, just wrapped up her contest, and I wanted to make a video, but I didn't really want to enter the contest because although she had some really good prizes, they were mostly Region 2 DVDs, which I can't use. She had a Walking Dead comic book also that she was offering as a prize, and while that seemed interesting, I figured there are people out there that probably want that a heck of a lot more than I do, so I did not enter. But I still wanted to make a video just sort of because she, had an interesting question, and so here's my video for her now closed contest. She asked if there was a particular book, fiction or nonfiction, that we would really like to see adapted into a film. And I've read a number of these over the years. In fact, one I picked up just a few days ago and read within the space of 48 hours is Replay. This is by Ken Grimwood. It was published in 1986, which, strangely enough, was also the same year that Peggy Sue Got Married, the Kathleen Turner film, was released. And the storyline is very similar here. Actually, the reason why I picked this up is because this movie is actually going to be adapted into a feature film. At least that's the plan right now. Robert Zemeckis recently announced that he was going to... someone announced that Robert Zemeckis was planning on making a feature film out of this book. And when I heard it described, I thought, ooh, that sounds really interesting. So I immediately got the book and read through it like lickety-split because it was really fascinating. Like I said, it's a bit like Peggy Sue Got Married with some source code and Forrest Gump thrown in there as well. What this is about is the main character's named Jeff. He worked for a television news company. At the age of 43, he suddenly drops dead of a heart attack, and then he wakes up to find that he's 18 years old again, and he is once again a college freshman. And it is now 1963. And he's like, what's going on here? But slowly he learns that he has sort of traveled back in time and occupied his younger self and has the opportunity now to relive the next 25 years of his life all over again up until the age of 43. So he does. He starts something new. He places a few bets on horse races and ball games that he knows are going to turn out a certain way and makes himself a lot of money. And he starts his own investment firm, and he meets a beautiful woman and has a relationship with her. And then he dumps her and he marries a society woman and has a daughter who's a piano prodigy who loves her very much. But then when he turns 43, bam! Drops dead of a heart attack again, and bam! Goes back to be an 18-year-old college freshman again. It's just like, what the heck is going on here? I thought I already did all this already. So then he does, he goes again. Now, I think there's a total of 8 25-year spans that he goes through. It's kind of like Groundhog Quarter Century instead of Groundhog Day. Keeps doing it over and over and over again, the span of time, and keeps having the opportunity to redo things. Additionally, he also comes across another person who also is experiencing the same thing, and so they sort of spend lots of time together over the course of their various truncated lifetimes. So you get to see a lot of them as youngsters, and then as they get to be semi-middle aged, and how the relationship changes and who they end up with in various cases, the kinds of careers that they have, the kinds of adventures that they have. They do a lot of traveling all over the place because they're able to make money really easily. They have a lot of free time on their hands. I'm very interested to see. Obviously, Zemeckis has done a lot of motion capture stuff lately, but the technology for aging and de-aging actors now has gotten to the point where they can probably cast a couple people in their early 30s and then make them 18 or make them in their mid 40s or whatever it is they want to do without too much credibility issues. So this is something that I'm really looking forward to seeing, and I cannot wait to hear who they're going to be casting in this thing. Whether or not it actually gets made, of course, that's up in the air, but as soon as I read about this, I had to read it, and I really enjoyed this book quite a lot. So that's cool. Another book that I would like to see adapted came out in 2008. This is by Austin Grossman. It's a novel called Soon I Will Be Invincible, and it is about superheroes. Check out the back cover there. Isn't that cool? The two main characters, this is basically sort of an ensemble story. The two main characters are Dr. Impossible, who is the villain, and one of the heroes named Fatal, who is basically a woman who got in this horrific car accident, had half of her body scraped away, including part of her head and her brain. But she was the subject of an experiment to graft artificial parts onto her, and so now she is part machine. She's like RoboCop or something like that, except it's like down the side or something. So she joins a team of superheroes to try and stop Dr. Impossible, whatever he is going on with him. But it alternates between Dr. Impossible and Fatale. The two of them have their own perspectives on what's happening. It's kind of like Goodfellas for superheroes, back and forth between the two. It's a really interesting book. A lot of really colorful characters in here. The heads of there are no plans as far as I know to make this into a film, but I can just totally picture some really great people in the cast. You can see really good roles for people like Kevin Spacey and Bridget Moynihan, Helen Hunt, Dennis Haysbert and Angela Bassett. They could be like the couple of superheroes that head up the superhero organization. Abigail Breslin would probably be perfect for the younger superhero. It's a fun book. It's really fun. I've only read it the one time, but I had to buy a copy of it just because the premise sounds so intriguing. So that would be really cool. That would be a lot of fun to see. Finally, this is a book that, again, is sort of movie-related. I read that Reese Witherspoon was thinking about starring in an adaptation of a novel called Slow Motion by Dani Shapiro, and so I immediately went and bought that, being a Reese Witherspoon fan, and read it, and it is now one of my favorite books of all time. This is not a fiction. This is a memoir. Dani Shapiro was an actress, and then she found that dissatisfying, so she went back to school and became a writer. She wrote a few novels, and this is basically the story of how she found her way towards becoming a writer and sort of coming into herself. She spent a lot of time sort of trying to deal with her domineering mother, and when her mother and father were in a car accident, she had to deal with them, take care of them. She's also been having a long-term affair with her college roommate's father, and got into drugs and drinking heavily, and eventually sort of crawled her way back to some sort of self-respectability. And then became, a successful novelist. And this is a very touching story, and one that I'd really like to see made into a film. I'm sure it could be, a very powerful experience. But I don't necessarily need it made into a film, but I'm very curious to see how it turned out in much the same way I'd be curious to see another Douglas Adams book turned into a movie. Even though I know it couldn't be as good as the actual book, I'd still be very curious about it. So those are three books that I would very much like to see adapted into films. As I said, Purple Book Fairy's contest is closed right now, but I still want to make the video anyway, just because I like the idea of it. So, thanks very much for watching. And there's a link below to the page where you can not only find Elin's video, but also all the video responses that she asked for in the participation of the contest. Thanks very much for watching. Take it easy.